what is the right way to turn down the temperature in the United States right now?
I think the right way to turn down the temperature is to treat one another as neighbors. Treat one another as people who belong in the same community. America is great because we have origins that span the globe, but we come here because we can achieve great things, and they always happen when we work together. And so I say that to every person with a platform, a title, a place where you can influence others, to today recommit to moving forward with rhetoric that isn't going to inspire action like violence in our communities. We, yes, have things that we don't agree on, paths ideologically, paths based on our belief that might be different than those of other people in our community. I, as a Democrat, do not need to be mad, to be angry at a Republican. We can disagree on the substance, but at the end of the day, come back and realize we're in the same mission for the same country and in advancing leadership in the world. And that's what I'm going to commit to. And I encourage others to look inwardly and see how they can do that today.
But Congressman Amo, with all due respect, that political discourse, that productive conversations, and debates when you don't agree with someone's thoughts on something, it doesn't seem to happen anymore.
Well, we have to do better. I'm not going to, suggest that we have found the way to resolve our conflicts in the best way, but I'll tell you what isn't and will never be acceptable, and that is violence. And so we have an extra burden today to keep trying, to keep working towards meeting the ideals that I know that we share.
So let me ask you about geopolitics, because you are vice-ranking member of the House Committee on Foreign Affairs. We did have a big story today about Poland seeking a consultation with NATO specifically and NATO powers after shooting down drones that crossed into its territory during Russia's latest massive airstrike on Ukraine. They called the incursion an, quote, act of aggression. What are you hearing from U.S. officials and the White House on this?
Well, look, I go back to the president's summit with Vladimir Putin, his deadlines that weren't met. Vladimir Putin is testing limits. He is testing our resolve and our commitment to NATO and to our European allies. And the way we must respond is by recommitting to Ukraine's fight against Vladimir Putin's aggression that has only become harsher, has been more aggressive against civilians, and is seeking to undermine our strength and our alliances in Europe. And so I need to hear from the White House, and we need to see a commitment to Ukraine in an even stronger way.
What does that commitment look like?
Look, that commitment goes to certainly supporting them militarily and continuing to provide the support they need on that end. But beyond that, when you have rhetoric that is uncertain about our commitments to NATO, that helps to fuel Vladimir Putin's test. And he certainly wants us to have uncertainty in our relationship with Ukraine, our relationship with Europe, and continuing to see an inconsistency from this administration provides some of that continued motivation for Putin to try actions like he did in Poland.
All right, so there are definitely geopolitical concerns with everything that's going on overseas. The other thing we think about a lot is security and independence when it comes to energy. You're a member of the House Committee on Science, Space and Technology, ranking member of the Subcommittee on Environment. Wind power is something that has been singled out several times critically by President Trump. Talk to us about how important offshore wind is to the state of Rhode Island.
It's very important. Offshore wind is incredibly important to Rhode Island. We have a project that received a stop work order, Revolution Wind, that was set to power 350,000 households between Rhode Island and Connecticut. And unfortunately, this stop work order not only imperils our solution to the challenges of climate change, our work to lower energy costs, but it also puts people out of work. right? You know, we talk about the all of the above strategy. The all of the above strategy has to include wind. And this project was 80% complete. 45 out of 65 turbines in the water, and you're sending people home. That's the president's actions, not creating jobs, taking them away. And so we're continuing to work very aggressively across the aisle with Republican colleagues as well to speak to the wisdom of continuing this project.
Well, let me just ask you something, Congressman. Governors in the U.S. Northeast are considering dropping resistance to natural gas pipelines and other fossil fuel projects in the hopes they can convince the president to allow those offshore wind farms to move forward. Do you agree with that possible trade-off, if that's what needs to be done to save wind farms in your home state?
Well, unfortunately, we've seen this as a mysteriously troubling turn. However, when the president has been at the negotiation table, this is something he has impressed upon. And I'm committed to wind, but again, if there is going to be an all of the above strategy, it has to include wind, not exclude it. And so I know that the governors are making very tough decisions. I think in the long term, renewables are going to be the path that achieve our cost objectives and our climate objectives. But this has certainly been part of what the president has put forward when he has engaged these governors alongside members of his administration.